But thank you everyone for coming to the World Language Webinar series. We do these about once a month. Here lately, we've had a lot of them. Since the end of July, we've really crammed a bunch of webinars in. And so we're kind of starting to slow down a little bit, but they do happen about once a month, or as often as once or twice a week, depending upon the topic. Tonight, Margarita Pérez García is going to share with us her 8 tips for getting started with comprehensible input, or for refreshing your practice with comprehensible input. And I know she has lots of special little treats to throw out there along the way, and a special announcement at the end as well. So, Margarita, are you able to share your screen?
Oh, okay, I try that. Give me a sec.
No, you're fine.
That's the most important thing. Can I share my screen? Yep, I can.
Okay, awesome.
No, that wasn't the right screen. That wasn't the screen I wanted to share. The screen I want to share is this screen. Let me see. Okay, beautiful. Now, since I have a really small screen, I cannot have all your faces and the chat and everything on this screen. But I trust.
David and
I
I will
trust.
take care of the chat for you.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind. I trust that you will do that beautifully. Now I need to let you into a confidence. Welcome to the wonderful World Language Webinar series and to this presentation that we have titled Fall into CI this fall. But it's not fall in Australia, it's spring. And it's about 38 degrees and so hot, even if it is 9:32 a.m. on the Thursday. So I wanted to share with you 8 ways to bring fresh energy, connection, and depth to your classroom through CI. I trust that these 8 tips can serve both new teachers, but also teachers who want to be re-energized and teachers who are also really experienced, but they just want to try or do something new, right? And so my name is Margarita Pérez García. I am a teacher of both Spanish and French. Over the years, I have specialized in reading comprehension, reading instruction, how to support students who struggle with reading mainly. And I am an author of easy-to-read books that move and matter. I try to write endearing stories that are meaningful for the readers, not only accessible in the language, but that have something that somehow enriches their view of the world or their view of themselves. I have a number of books for level 1 students in Spanish. I am sorry, Alex. I have co-written books with my friend Adriana Ramirez, who is a Colombian author, in the Por si las moscas series, which is a series that talk about proverbs that use the word mosca in Spanish. We are going to publish the 2 last book of the series at the beginning of the year. We have a really playful series called Amor de Arepa, that is the fight about the arepa, where the arepa comes from. Of course, everyone knows it comes from Venezuela. We have a series of readers for senior students, intermediate students, about inspiring women in Latin American history. And I have all the books that are easy to read, and a book that is coming out very, very, very soon. So for me it's 9:35, and I'm going to run through these 8 tips, and feel free to interrupt or ask questions or share anything you want through the chat. My very first tip is to start free voluntary reading straight away. I often used to wait until my second year, or even well advance my second year of language with the students, to open the free voluntary reading library. And this year, as I could start again as a level 1 Spanish teacher in the middle school, I said, you know what? I am going to start my students reading from day 1. And so for me, the 3 key words, the 3 key successful words this year were early. I launched reading in January when we started school in Australia, in really small doses, but with a language that they could access and feel successful about. And so I ended up, I'm going to share it with you, I ended up creating my own reading development framework. At the beginning of the year, I said, how am I going to take these students who do not know how to read in Spanish to be strong readers by the end of the year and read 38,000 words in a year? How am I going to do that? And so I ended up testing and developing my own reading framework, but I trust that you are also very proficient and can say, hey, how am I going to take a level 1 from 0 to reader in 1 year? So I ended up creating a space and a time for reading during and after my classroom via homework. And I calculated at the beginning of the year that if my students were reading from 10 to 15 minutes at the beginning of each lesson, reading in its own was going to take 20 to 25% of my program. That's what I did, and we are going to finish in 1 trimester, and it has been amazing. But the thing that changed my approach with reading is that I made my students accountable for their reading. And so I developed a framework of 10 steps that I started presenting in July in the conference in the cloud, but also in the CI reboot. And I will be writing about this now that I get to the end of the year and see what really happened. But these 10 steps can be helpful for you to think about what are you going to do with reading and your beginners. First, it is not because your students can already speak English that they can read Spanish or French, because they don't have the decoding skills and they don't have the sound symbol relationships. And nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about how to do this in a comprehensible language classroom. How do you develop sound symbol relationships? So this, for me, was the beginning of my story this year. Then I ended creating sound stories. Sound stories are stories that overuse a sound to help strengthen the sound symbol relationship. And I will be sharing one of those. Then, oh, there is a mistake there, but let them read from the board very, very early when my students starting developing those sound symbol relationships, knowing that a J in Spanish sounds or an U in French sounds like that, U. Then I started letting my students reading from the board. So I don't read anymore for them. And it's a mini shift, but it's so powerful to write on the board, point at the words and look at your students. Can they read aloud the language that they are learning? Then, of course, we started making stories. And then as soon as we started making stories, I assigned those stories as a daily reading as a starter on my board. So when my students arrived, very soon I said, well, 10 minutes reading. They are reading what is on the board. And then I started making activities for homework and recording those stories with my voice, which I shared on Canva, and then assigning them for homework. So they had to read at least 3 times for homework, read at their own pace, read with the audiobook, shadowing my reading. So the teacher reads and they read aloud after me and reading on their own. So they had to do reading at home. And then with their own content, write little zines or one-page stories that they could read at the beginning. And only then, when they were able to, I was happy that they could make those sound symbol relationships and read the language a little bit decently. Then we started reading ultra beginner readers, read together longer books, read a chapter book together, and let them read. So that's my tip number 1. It's a bit long, but can you shift your mindset and start extensive reading with the middle school or with level 1 from the word go? My second tip is to build an extensive reading library for your beginners. So if you are a teacher of French, this is going to be utterly disappointed because I haven't done this for French. I'm sorry. But I spent the first 6 months of this year reading every single graded reader that was reputable, easy, or level 1 to make a choice. What were those ethical stories really easy to read that were accessible for my level 1? There is practically no information, no up-to-date information on the web right now about what is an accessible story for a level 1 student. So I read every book. I made a vocabulary lists of every book. I counted the word of 50 books, and I made a vocabulary, a core vocabulary for level 1 students. And they are compared those books to the vocabulary. And I selected a list of books that I'm going to show you. But before your students can read on their own, you have to explicitly teach them how to use glossaries, how to deal with cognates, and the most important reading skill in second language is how to guess from context. And you need to teach this explicitly to your students. So as soon as they can handle unfamiliar language, you can start putting your students to ultra beginner readers. Ultra beginner readers are very little readers that have only 250 or 500 words. They can be read in 10 minutes. I'm going to show you 10 of them. And once your students are confident that they can get into your classroom and read for 10 minutes, something that is very short and contained within those 10 minutes, then they can move to read longer books. So I curated, as I said at the beginning, a culturally sensitive list of books that are under 200 words, including cognates. And I showcase in that list authors that belong from the countries where those stories are written. So these are, at the moment, the available in the market ultra beginners readers. I know that Adam, who is the author of the Confidence Readers, he has these readers in French. I know that I have been approached to translate this into French. I'm happy to do that. But these are the readers I used with my students, and they're about 10. So they could come into the classroom, click on each of their books, read them online, listen to them, and this is how they started their independent reading. If you grab your phone and you scan that QR code, you can download for free a ultra beginner reader, super fácil, that I have written for the classroom. And I can share the links after that. We can share the links in the email that goes. Also, there is the Confidence Readers Library. You can equally scan the code. That code give you a $10 discount if you are interested in bringing the Confidence Reader to your classroom. I have found them extremely useful, and especially online. And he's about to publish 4 more. So I mean, I like this product. And so I ended up making a list of books, these 24 books. These 24 books a level 1 student can read. This, and I have a poster that I'll send to you via the chat or put the link later. And these books are written under 300 words, and they are ethically produced. There are lovely stories that you can add with confidence to your classroom. This is a whole list. You can see that in this first series, there are 17 books written by Venezuelan authors, Colombian authors, Ecuadorian authors. And in this second list, we have books written by Colombian, Venezuelan, Ecuadorian, and Mexican authors. But all of these books written by a variety of authors have a really small vocabulary, and they have support on the page in the forms of illustrations, glossaries, side notes, so that your beginner students can really read. When your students are reading, you need to celebrate their reading. I used to say, up until 3 months ago, that I used to abide by the 4th principle of extensive reading. And the 4th principle of extensive reading is reading is its own reward. And I assume that my students will come, they will see this library, and they will all want to read and keep reading throughout the year. Nothing more false. And I went to a conference in Japan about a month and a half ago. And one of the speakers was saying that this principle is really contentious because before students develop the intrinsic motivation for reading, we language teachers have to do a lot of work of extrinsic motivation for them to complete a given book. And so that made me think, how can I do this in a really soft way? And so I started thinking, I'm going to reward my students for reading. I am going to make their progress visible so that they have that motivation for the public recognition. So I send emails home when they have completed a milestone. I send certificates I print certificates, I do wall displays, I give merit points, I buy chocolates, and we do cheers in the class. And so the idea is that it's not a competition. I have seen a lot of competition. Oh, who reads more? Spanish 1A or 1B? I don't do competitions. I just focus on the effort and reward my students independently. And I'm just going to go back a sec because some students with severe reading difficulties, they will only stay here and they will read again, or I will write mini stories for them. It doesn't matter. Some students will stay here in year one, and some students will move very quickly to this. It doesn't matter. Every student reads at their own pace, provided that they all keep reading, because reading can provide so much input on top of what I am providing that it's something I'm not going to pass over anymore as a language teacher. And so these are part of the display. Well, this is last week displays. I launched independent reading. It took me 2 terms to get my students to read in Spanish that it doesn't sound gobbledygook, that read accurately. And now my year 8, 3 months after, my year 8s have completed, these 5 in a class of 25 have completed 10 books. These girls, the ones in year 7, I only see them once a week. And in 10 weeks, they have completed 10 books. So it's really good, Katie and Sophie. And my students, well, it's not a secret, I have been making a lot of noise about the reading marathon, but this is an example of a reading marathon of a year 8 student. And I reward her. You can see the merit points, and I even made a screenshot of the system, and I give merit points to my students for completing reading. So that's really important. I recognize the effort and I reward it. Number 4. Number 4 is going to be really short. It's Stitch with a Book. In 2016, when I discovered story listening, and I have a story listening masterclass on my website, margaritaperezgarcia.com/workshops. I thought, I go to my classroom and I said, I'm so inspired by story listening, but I am a very lazy teacher. I don't like to work a lot. And I don't like to come home and bring work home. I don't want to do that. So I want to respect my weekends, and I want to respect my time away from school. And I found that when I grabbed a graded reader and I used story listening to tell the story of the chapter, and then my students read the chapter, that was amazing. That was so good. And that's the reason why I started writing. I published my first book in 2018 because I wanted a book that would do the thing I had in my mind, that would teach the language one chapter at a time, that it wasn't a book that all the vocabulary is from there from the beginning. No, I wanted a book that will teach you 3 verbs in chapter 1, 3 more verbs in chapter 2, and 3 other things in chapter 3. And for that didn't exist in 2018. So, well, it did exist, sorry, I'm lying. Myra Canyon did that. And so in 2016, I used El Capibara con Botas, and I did my first story listening experience. And since, well, I haven't stopped writing. Mira hasn't stopped writing. Other teachers have written beautiful books. And so I encourage you to grab a book that you like and say, hey, I'm going to replace or complement your textbook with a comprehensible novel and teach with that novel. Because then you don't have to plan. You just open the book, tell the story, the students read the story. That novel, if you choose well, can be an open door to the culture of the places where the language is spoken. And choose a novel with a teaching guide. Again, I'm sorry if you're a French teacher. There are amazing teacher's guides there. If you're a Spanish teacher, I wanted to show this. If you're a Spanish teacher, we have published the teaching guide for Tonia, for Arroz con Cosas, but I wanted to show you this. I wanted to show you for Tonia Patagonia, that is my next book. Look at the teacher. This is the teacher guide for one chapter. Of course, we open the guide. We tell you what the vocabulary is. We give you all the activities for the vocabulary at the beginning, so you don't have anything. We give you the TPR, the pictures for TPR, the scripts for TPR, games with the pictures, the scripts for picture, talk and write and discuss with the photos and everything to say for each photo. We do geographic picture talks, things that you can already print for your students, illustrations from the book so that you can do picture talk with the images from the book, more images from the book, more scripts to do the story listening. With the brain breaks, you have to do photos of my board, photos of me teaching or Patricia teaching, videos, photos of the character, quizzes for every part of the book, reading options, audio books, post-reading activities, comprehension questions with things that you can print for your students or just display, personal questions. I mean, there are teacher guides and teacher guides, but there are teacher guides that you don't have to worry anymore. You just get the novel and get the teacher guide and say, okay, I'm rolling. And so I encourage you to do that. And I'll talk to you at the end about this amazing book later. Revisit picture talk. Now, this is so powerful because I used to do picture talk, and I do picture talk in two ways. Either I display the image and I start asking questions, who, what, when, how, and then kind of interacting with my students and bringing up the language, building the language, or I use story listening and I tell the story of the picture. But I was with Adriana Ramirez a few years ago, and she gave a presentation and she encouraged everyone to move beyond what do you see. And she proposed to add two powerful questions. What do you feel? Ask the students, what do you feel when you see this? Ask your students, what is the message of this? Because every single visual resource has a message, conveys an ideology. And I think it's very important right now, especially, well, in every single country of the world, that you encourage your students to think by themselves and think critically. So asking in picture talk, what is the message is really important. From this, I built onto the following question. I ask my students, and how do you know that this is the message? How do you learn about this? How do you know this? Because as teachers, we need to we need to be able to challenge misconceptions and stereotypes. So sometimes asking students, oh, that's the message. And how do you know this? How do you combine by this information? How do you combine this knowledge? But it was in 2023 in Chicago that I saw Claudia Elliott demonstrate something so beautiful that I thought, oh my goodness, I am going to steal this and use it all the time. And so, giving her credit, I share it with you. She displays an image, and I'm going to show you an example. She displays an image and she says to the students, think, pair, share. Look at the image and write down 6 questions as a pair. 6 questions that this image inspire you. And then that pair is going to meet another pair of students, and they are going to share all their questions they have between themselves, and they are going to choose the 2 best questions, or the 3 best, or the 4 best. It depends on the class, or the best one. And those questions they are going to share with you. If it's a class of beginners, they can do this in their language. But when they share with you, you are going to write them in their target language on the board. And those are the questions that are going to guide your picture talk. And so I discovered over the time that what students notice reveals a deeper meaning than what we plan. And then we don't have to plan. We don't have to write the script, and we don't have to plan the questions, and we don't have to plan the lesson. We just have to display a picture. For example, when I was teaching my book, El Último Árbol, I showed this picture of a man being cut with the tree. And after writing the questions together, coming together, choosing the best questions, these were the best questions the students came up with. Where is the inside of the man? Where are the insides? Why we cannot see blood? Why the man doesn't have mouth nor ears? Why does he look normal if, with all of that, he is dead? Why is he part of the tree? Why the sky is white? These are the first questions they came up with after this jigsaw activity. And then we chose the best 2. So where is the inside of the man, and why he looks normal? And the student came up with such beautiful things, like every time that we cut a tree, we cut the people. So that was really profound with a class of total beginner Spanish. So that little flip to picture talk was my tip number 5. Now, tip number 6, and we are getting to the end, calendar talk that connects. And I hate calendar talk. I hate it. I just cannot stand there, go from Monday to Sunday and talk about the day of the penguin, the bat, the paella day. I do a little bit of the birthday of the school milestones. For me, I find that lackluster. I don't know. I just cannot engage with this activity that is very, some teachers make it really engaging. So I ended up shortening my calendar talk, which is a great activity, by the way. Just that I, as a teacher, I don't match, engage, love. And so I ended up doing really, really short calendar talk and then asking this question. And I did that every day throughout this year. How powerful that is. Why is today a special day? That's it. Why is today a special day? And the students would, me. And that question would turn a routine conversation about day, month, penguin day, to a really genuine connection with my students. And the answers are always different. I don't need to prepare the calendar talk. Actually, I don't use a slide for a calendar talk. I use my whiteboard, and no preparation is needed. And for example, I brought an example here. I ask, why is today a special day? And I had students say, my little sister was born yesterday. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is really special. So we discuss, oh, what is her name? What they call her that? Can you send me a photo so I could share it and do a picture talk the following day? And I have managed to connect with my students. Why is today a special day? Because it's the last day, because something happened, because a series is the final of a series they are watching. It's so powerful, that question. Tip number 7, student-generated persona especial. So I work in a school where I can make my own curriculum, but I am expected to follow national curriculum. And it would be very difficult for me to do one whole day of persona especial, a special person, or student interviews. And in a class of 25, that is 25 days. I don't have that ability. But I tweaked it a little bit to integrate student-generated persona especial every day or at least every week. And I asked my beginner students one question and my intermediate students another question. So to the beginners, I said, oh, an animal that is important for you. It can be real or from fiction, a book you have read, a movie you have seen. It can be an animal that is an object in your house, like a statue. It can be a living or it can be a dead animal, some animal that has been significant in your life. And to my other students, I asked what you are afraid of. And I said to them, now you have to write me an email and send me 3 photos of your answer. And in your language, you explain to me, you give me the anecdote, you give me the photos, they don't have to do the language. And so I prepared a slide deck with all those photos, same format, just student and all my photos. And at the beginning, once I do my really short calendar talk or why is it today special, I do a picture talk with persona especial. And so I'm going to show you and come back with this. For example, this is a student, her special animal was the green snake that lives in the chicken shed and eat the rats of the chicken shed. Another student, her her special animal is a little kangaroo that comes to her house, and she can sit in front of the fire and read with the cat and the kangaroo, and she feeds the kangaroo Arnott biscuits. And so these are priceless. I couldn't have invented this. But even though I didn't take a whole lesson to talk about this with my students, or I didn't do a persona especial, I could grab a little piece of their life throughout the year, and everyone will get there. Everyone will get there. And so, because I built that on a slide deck and I didn't have to find any photos or whatsoever, then after the picture talk, I can do write and discuss with my students. And I can ask my students to write down the texts. And with those texts, at the end of the year, I can do a gallery walk where I put the names, the photos, the name of my students, and the texts that we have written together. They can match them. I can make posters with the information and use that when we create stories, like about the dog who is mad and his name is Max and goes to the lake. I don't know. And I can create one-page booklets. Tip number 8. Tip number 8 is one that I try, and that's why I'm so grateful to Voces for organizing the wonderful world webinar series. Because it's to take care of your training. To take care of your training, I think is such an important thing, and it energizes me a lot. And so this year, I bought and read this book, The Two Conversation Classrooms by Mike Peto or Pito, I don't know how you say in English. I love this book. Wow, I think it has gone quietly. I think, Keith, you have made some noise about this book, but otherwise, I haven't seen like people getting really excited. And oh my goodness, this is such an amazing book for teachers of all language, because Mike devised a framework with two voices: the voice of others, which are the voices from the places, the territories, and the people who speak the culture, that we bring to the classroom through picture talk, movie talk, graded readers. But also he spends a long time talking about how do we bring the voice of students into the classroom, and how we combine both the voice of others and the voice of students into a successful curriculum for every year. And I thought that was great, because I drive 6 hours to my school and I return. Podcasts are the very best thing that helps me in the drive, but also energizes me when I'm taking dogs out. Uh, I have an unconditional love for Growing with Proficiency podcast. This podcast is published 4 times a month, once in Spanish, 3 in English. Every time, it's such an amazing resource. I mean, ideas for teaching every week I get from that podcast. I get to my classroom, I said, like, Claudia said that, I'm going to do that, and that. The Motivated Classroom is about once a month. And if not ready to use activities, it makes me think about deeper. How am I going to motivate my learnings, my students, and what is worthwhile for me to do in the classroom? I am really partial to Teaching La Vida Loca by Annabelle Williamson. And Annabelle has published 91 episodes. It's not just regular, it's when she gets there, but they also are really, really good. Adriana and so I said, take care of your training, read and listen. Because Adriana and I have a podcast, Armando Bochinche, that would be now forbidden in the US, where we tackle questions of social justice in the language classroom. But this season, which is the 3rd season, we are inviting our audience to read these books: Restoring Education from Brown Girls with Sharp Edges and Tender Hearts, Warrior Princesses, Yellow Face, Grading for Equity, and a poetry book about decolonization. And the audience read the books, and at the end of the month, we talk about them. So, yeah. These are my 8 tips. I'm just going to stop now for questions, but I have, if you're a Spanish teacher, I wanted to talk to you about this book, and I wanted to show you this book. And if you are a Spanish teacher, I have a present for you, and which is this beautiful poster that you can download, and I'm going to share the link. And I have 3 raffles of the products I write, which are not in English. So I'm just going to stop now for 1 minute. If you have questions or you want to share something, or you are a Japanese or a French teacher and you want to run away. And if you want to run away, before I present you, Tonya, I am going to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being there with me today. And if you are a Spanish teacher, I'm going to say, please, 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 please wait, because what you are going to see is so beautiful. No questions, no comments. Okay, so shall we continue?
AJ, you're muted.
Sorry, JJ is muted. JJ, you're muted. JJ, you continue
Sorry,
muted.
sorry. I was just saying, feel free to unmute yourself or type in the chat any questions you have, any comments you might have.
Or even, hey, I like that tip and I'm going to use it. Like, what tip are you going to use? They have changed my teaching this year, those little tweaks. Which is the tip you like the most?
Personally, I really love why is today a special day?
I love that too. Oh
I
my
think
goodness.
that's just a beautiful question.
It's such a beautiful question because it changes the dynamic from, oh, I have a math exam and I am upset with my history teacher. It's like, what is special has something positive. And you know what? The last what is special? There was a series, I don't know the name, but you certainly know in the US. There was a series where the girl is in love with the brother, but then she marries the other brother. Something about the summer. I don't know the series. And the girl said, what is a special day? Because today is the final episode of the series. I said, my goodness, you are only 14. Oh, Keith, you were writing something. I struggle with a special person interview. But you know, me too, because the special person, if you use Bryce template, which I really love, you look for Bryce Hedstrom, a special person interviews. The list is great for the first, the second, and the third. But then when you get to the 10th, you go, ugh, okay, we're going to do this again. But if you ask your students what you are most afraid of, I can guarantee you will get 25 different things. What's your most favorite food? I don't know. Think about the craziest questions. And if you don't find a question, you can say, hey guys, tell me the most decent or indecent or curious question you think you can ask your peers. And you get a band of questions. So, and you do it a little bit of a day. That has solved for me, persona especial. Victor, the summer turned pretty. Exactly, Salika. That, can you believe 13 years old watching that?
Hey, Margarita, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I've been working with CI for a couple of years, and I understand most of the strategies you mentioned today, which I think they are great. I wanna steal some of them too. But I got some teachers in my parish. I'm in Louisiana now, and I'm trying to implement CI with some of the teachers. But I was wondering if you can share with us some books for these teachers who don't know these strategies of CI or some channels. Definitely, I'm going to take all the podcasts you mentioned, but if you know some books or resources
The
we can
book I
look
told
at.
you, the 2 Conversation Classroom, just buy that book. Because, you know, in the comprehension based, there are thinkers who create a method like Blend Ray and Von Ray, TPRS 2.0 is highly codified, and you have to do by the rule, and it's complex to learn. Other teachers talk about story listening, and it's easy to learn. And there are a lot of people in between who do eclectic methods. But I found, as being head of department and being in your situation, trying to move other teachers, it's like, it's so vast. You don't know what leading voice to choose, who is going to guide you. It's so huge. And so I thought, now that book, The Two Conversation Classrooms, it's spoken with really simple language, no frills, really down to the ground. I love that book. I don't know, Keith, can you say something? You read the book and you loved it too. Keith?
It's a lot to get. I mean, there's a lot in it. It's a good book. I mean, it's one that it's definitely one you'll get something from it every time you read it and reread it. It's just like I said, there's just I don't know Mike, but there's a lot in it. So.
And actually, if you follow Mike's blog, every Friday, I think he sends an email with the things that happen in your classroom. Now, I am very conscious about time, and I want to share this with you. And we'll do a launch of this book on the 5th of November, where we go deeper. But I'm really, really excited to share this project with you. I have been teaching upper primary, middle school, total beginners for some time. And I wanted to have a book that I could just take, open, tell the story, and keep my students learning. And that book would teach them the most common words, the numbers, the colors, the prepositions, all the tener expressions. If you teach Spanish, tener hambre, tener sed, tener miedo, tener sueño, tener rabia, tener paciencia, tener calor, tener frío, that are so, so difficult. And I have always wanted to have something like that. And I wrote a book. I don't want to talk about it. I want to share it with you. So I will speak in Spanish. I'm sorry. I will speak in Spanish about the book, and I want to show you the book. Where is it? Okay, beautiful. So, Tonia Patagonia and the Magic Box, y la caja mágica. I'll speak a little bit in English. This book is written in 10 chapters for 10 weeks of school. And it has been written for my co-author, Patricia Martí, with whom I wrote Arroz con Cosas, and we paired together to teach this book. And this is the story. I mean, can I speak about this in Spanish? Can I? Okay. Es la historia de una niña que se llama Tonia Patagonia. Tonia Patagonia está en el sur de América del Sur, en Argentina. Y Tonia está en una isla fantástica. En la isla hay de todo. Hay pingüinos, hay delfines, hay orcas, hay icebergs. La isla es fantástica, but Tonia está triste. Tonia está sola. She is indeed alone. Tonia no tiene familia, no tiene amigos. Tonia está sola y triste. Pero Tonia tiene una cosa, a thing, tiene una cosa fantástica de su familia. ¿Qué cosa es? That cosa fantástica es una caja mágica. La caja tiene un mapa de América del Sur y tiene 7 espacios. 7 espacios para 7 cristales. Pero hay un problema. La caja mágica no se abre. It doesn't open. Los cristales no están. And Tonia is utterly frustrated for this. And she says, ¡Qué rabia! ¡Qué rabia, qué rabia. And my students say that all the time now when they are frustrated. They say, qué rabia, profe. Just to discover that, oh my goodness, la caja no es una caja normal. La caja mira. ¿Mira? Yes, las cajas no miran, pero la caja mágica de Tonia mira y dice, sorpresa. Vamos a por el tesoro. And la caja mágica is going to take Tonia throughout la cordillera de los Andes, from Argentina, Chile, Bolivia, Peru, Ecuador, Colombia, y Venezuela, in search of those 7 crystals so that she can open the box and see the treasure of her family. Y así, cada capítulo del libro está color coded. I am translanguaging big time here. Está color coded. Cada capítulo representa un país y un color. Y Tonia va a buscar cada uno de esos cristales. Y a partir de aquí, I don't know if you know in Spanish, there is a game like I see with my little eye. In Spanish is veo, veo, ¿qué ves? Una cosita, ¿y qué cosita es? And so the box, every time que la caja mágica ve una cosa, dice, ¿qué ves? Tonia, she is a really strong girl. And she always says, cold, me, frío, yo. Yo no tengo frío. Yo soy Tonia Patagonia. No hay problema. And she goes head on onto all adventures, grabs the first crystal and says, aquí está el cristal. No es un cristal, es una cosa azul brillante. And so what she's going to find throughout the books are the 7 guardians of the crystals. And those 7 guardians belong to the context they go. To the Atacama Desert in Chile, she meets Rojo. In Blanco, in Bolivia, in the Uyuni Flats, she meets Blanco. And in every chapter, you have a need with tener hambre, tener sed, tener calor, tener miedo, and so forth. She's discovering a marvelous site in South America, discovering the color, discovering the number, and going with her friends throughout up north, Greece, up north to the volcanoes in Ecuador, Naranja, up to Colombia, Verde. And suddenly, towards the end of the book, she's sick of her friends. They have too many needs. Tienen demasiado hambre, demasiado calor. They eat. They drink. And eventually, ahora quieren dormir. And she is so furious. Ahora Tonia está furiosa. Ahora tiene rabia, mucha rabia. And she has no patience that she abandons them. And she goes to Venezuela. In Venezuela, they have an accident and they lose the 6 crystals. She cannot open the box anymore. She finds the last guardian. And now Tonia, who has been so brave throughout the book, ahora sí está nerviosa, ahora sí tiene miedo, ahora sí tiene hambre, sí tiene sed, sí tiene frío, sí tiene sueño, pero Tonia no duerme. But good friends get to the rescue. And all the friends come to her. They prompt her, sorpresa. They're all together. They want to know what is inside the box. Tonia, ahora tienes el cristal violeta. Ahora abre la caja. El tesoro. She has bad news. She doesn't have the crystals anymore. But la caja mágica abraza, embraces Tonia. Azul abraza a Tonia. Rojo abraza a Tonia. Blanco abraza a Tonia. Gris abraza a Tonia. Naranja abraza a Tonia. Verde abraza a Tonia. Violeta abraza a Tonia también. Y la caja se abre. Click. What is inside the box? Inside the box hay una nota de su mamá. El mensaje dice, no estés triste, Tonia. Sí, yo ya no estoy aquí, pero tú no estás sola. Ya no estás sola. Ahora tus amigos son tu familia. Tus amigos son tu tesoro, mamá. The guardians ask, Tonia, ¿qué es? ¿Qué es el tesoro? Tonia mira a sus amigos y les dice con emoción, ustedes, ustedes, ustedes son mi tesoro. Vamos. And so it's such a heartwarming story. It's such a beautiful story about friendship, written with only 84 words, including the 7 numbers, the 7 colors, that it's such a delight to teach. And the teacher guide, to go into what Victor was saying, the teacher guide goes through explanation of all the CI techniques used to teach. So to finish this, I like to do the following things. First, thank you for being here with me. If you click here, if you go into that link with your phone, you get access to this beautiful poster that even if you don't teach with Tonia Patagonia, even if you don't get the book today, next week, or next year, you have this poster for the tener expressions. Tiene frío, tiene calor, tiene sed, tiene hambre, tienen sueño, tienen rabia, tienen miedo. And there isn't anything online like this. And you have a beautiful poster that you can print and put in your classroom. And I wanted to, we have a little audience of 16 people here. I wanted to raffle 3 things. I wanted to raffle the book and the audiobook and the teacher guide, who is going to be published the day of the launch, which is the 5th of November. So if you join me here, if you join me in this ahaslides.com/SLHL5, I can take you to this raffle, and you have to put your name. So you need to come. I'm going to put the link on the chat. Let me see. Click here to copy link. Copy link. I'm going to put the link here. And you can come to this place. And if you are the winner of the book, or the book and the audiobook, or the teaching guide, you need to write me an email to say, hey, Margarita, I am the winner. Margarita Pérez García at gmail.com. You write an email with your address, because otherwise the book is not going to get to you. And so if you click on that link and participant name autofill, can I do this? Is it done? And you should be able to, this should be able to work. Have you put your, I don't know why it's not working. Okay, Victor. Okay, Tracy, Ida, JJ. Oh, JJ, you chose the shameless. You chose so we have Dana, Janet, Rebecca, Jan, Tracy, JJ, Aina, and Victor, and Salika and Miguel. Okay, are we ready? We have 10 people. So this is for the book. Press to spin. Okay, press to spin. Okay, press to spin. Press to spin. How did you do? How did you do this? Why is not working? No.
I think
Wait
it
a
wants
sec.
you to press the enter button to spin.
Yeah, but I'm pressing the enter button and let me see. No way. I planned this so well. Wait. Let me unshare a sec. Let me unshare a sec to see if wait. Okay, it wasn't sharing. Wait. It's moving. I haven't checked the result. Share. Okay. Dana! Dana, you won Tonya Patagonia, the book. Okay, I'm removing you. Dana or Dana, perdón si lo dije mal. You need to write to me, my sweet, and put the address. And now I do this again. This is the book and the audiobook. Rebecca! The universe is rewarding you because I think you are one of the first who logged into this presentation. Now, this is really, really special because the teacher guide has like 400 pages. Every chapter is such a thing of beauty, like, oh my goodness. So I wish luck. Yay! Thank you. Thank you for being with me today. This was fun. One thing before you go, I really wanted to get this book to the classrooms. I'm publishing a book that has so many illustrations. Margarita Pérez García at gmail.com. Super easy. Publishing this book through Amazon is really expensive. Is $11.25, whereas publishing through distributing it through CPLI and Voices allows you to get the book at such a good price. So I think JJ shared a link. I will be in celebration mode in the next 2 weeks. And if you didn't get a prize here, you may get a prize in the proper virtual lunch. Thank you. Thank you very much for being with me today.
Well,
Thank you.
everyone for joining us. And I think that concludes our webinar.